Hoodly boodly, rubala tubala, children, let's all gather around. Thanks for showing up. It's time for me to do this show. All right. Let's. Oh man, what an exciting show! I'm your host, Uncle Goblin Turtle Dick Nose Magugaba, and Uncle. You can call me Uncle. Fucking whatever the fuck you feel like. And today on this show, let's take a look up at the big board and see what we're discussing today, kids. Today we're gonna talk to you about Tank Girl. Oh, Tank Girl. She's just the one you want. That's a reference to the Tank Girl soundtrack. You probably, hopefully you get it. Kids, Tank Girl, one of my favorite things in the entire world. Tank Girl is she's a comic book character. She first showed up in, I believe, in Deadlines magazine back in 1988. Tank Girl was created by writer Alan Martin and artist Jamie Hewlett. There are a couple of British fucking punks, not like real punks, just like, hey, what are those fucking punks up to? Like that kind of punks. Just fucking scuzzy little dorks doodling obscene pictures. And then somehow some magazine, a rock magazine. You're familiar with shit like Vice magazine, shit like that? Well, this was one of those kind of things. I guess Deadline magazine is probably still out there. It's probably way more famous. I don't know nothing, kids. I'm Uncle Choosy Magoo, and I don't know nothing about nothing. But Tank Girl, so she was created back in the late 1980s, and then into the 90s she got reprinted in American. Deadline was it's a British fucking magazine, so she got reprinted by Dark Horse Comics, and I think that's when they colorized it. That Tank Girl was originally a black and white thing, but then they added color to it. That's the way I was introduced to it when I first read Tank Girl comics in the mid 90s. And I heard about Tank Girl because then a movie got optioned from the comic book, and they made the movie. It was directed by Rachel Talalay, and it starred Lori Petty as the titular Tank Girl. And that was pretty fucking. Well, that was a whole experience, man. The movie didn't really do too well. It's one of those things that it's sort of considered to be a cult success, but I've heard that the original creators, they kind of got dicked around and they didn't actually benefit that much from the movie. Like, they didn't get a lot of money from it. They didn't, I think they got flown out and got to see the production. And I don't blame the production for that. Like, as far as I know, the people who wrote and directed the movie and even starred in it and shit like that, they were all super passionate about it. But the studio didn't really understand, and I think it screwed around and gave them all these rules and tried to pull some of the money it was giving them and just shit like that, man. So you gotta support that stuff. You don't buy a super weird property and then complain that the creators are making a super weird movie, why would you do that? The whole point of something like Tank Girl. So what's the deal with Tank Girl? The funny thing about Tank Girl, it's sort of a semi-post-apocalyptic. It's in Australia, and there's mutant kangaroos, and I think one of her best friends is a talking teddy bear doll, and none of that shit's ever explained. I think a lot of people, they go into Tank Girl thinking it's going to be a mythology. There's going to be well, in the year of something, this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And it's no, man, it's more of just a fucking Saturday morning cartoon for dumb 14-year-olds, which is what I was when I fell in love with Tank Girl. It's just a lot of fucking chaotic imagery, and I've gotten the implication. There's a specific storyline in Tank Girl that references a lot of Jack Kerouac. You kids familiar with Jack Kerouac? I'm talking about the Snippily Snap, the Beatniks. You kids know the Beatnik generation? What a fucking crazy time that was to be alive. Shit like fucking On the Road and fucking I Saw the Greatest Minds of My Generation and shit like that, man. Fucking, I don't remember them all, man. Fucking Neil Cassidy was there and it was crazy. And I think those books, the Beatnik books and Jack Kerouac, those were a big influence on Alan Martin when he was younger. And you can see those influences go into Tank Girl. On the Road was Jack Kerouac's most famous book, and it was produced with a very stream of consciousness is what they called it, because he would just sit down. He bought this ream, a fucking like a tube of paper, and he'd stick it in the typewriter, and then he'd just start writing. So like most people, when they fucking write, they're like, oh, here's a page and I'm gonna write a page. And fucking Jack Kerouac, he was just like, nah man, I just got a fucking endless stream of paper and I'm just gonna fucking write. I'm just gonna write ideas as they come to me. I'm gonna write things as I remember them, and I'm just gonna fucking put it all down on the page. And it's not gonna be about editing. It's not gonna be about going back and changing things. It's about the spontaneity of the expression of the word, man, because that's what life is really all about. So my book has to reflect the way that I lived my life, the way we were all living, the way we were all drunk and doing drugs, and fucking anything could happen to the drop of a hat, man. You just fucking like put down your shit and fucking jump in a car and fucking move across the world, man. It doesn't fucking matter, man. That's what the fucking beatniks were all about. So you feel a lot of that energy in Tank Girl of like, it's not about where they arrive. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And if you ask somebody like, oh, Tank Girl, what's that about? It's like, it's not fucking about anything, man. It's just a bunch of fucking chaotic images and words that are kind of strung together in a loose-knit narrative. And like, Tank Girl just fucking like kicks ass and has weird little adventures. Sometimes she steals beer from people. Other times, I think in her first story or second story, she's a bounty hunter, but they drop that shit pretty fast. A lot of the time, she's just hanging out with her friends and getting drunk and like having little adventures that don't make any sense even as you read them. It's like, fucking one time I think she went to the beach and got abducted by aliens who tried to convince her that they were Jimi Hendrix, and then they just turned out to be wearing a bunch of rubber masks and they were assholes, so she beat them up and fell out of the fucking UFO. And like fucking that was it, man. There's no fucking point to the story. There's another one where fucking Booga is Tank Girl's boyfriend. He's a mutant kangaroo. I mentioned there are mutant kangaroos. He's kind of one of the other main characters, and he's basically just like, he's a goober. He screws everything up, and he just kind of like lays around and smokes a lot of weed, and like I really relate to him and the things that he goes through. The thing I really love about Tank Girl is I would say it's just the art. Fucking Jamie Hewlett did the art, man, and he went on to do the Gorillas, which are fucking famous. You probably heard of the Gorillas, man. Fucking they got sunshine in a bag, man. But then I read a novel of Tank Girl, a Tank Girl novel, Tank Girl Armadillo, and that was just written by Alan Martin. He writes all the Tank Girl stuff. Other people draw Tank Girl now. Fucking Jamie Hewlett doesn't really draw much anymore. Sometimes they get Philip Bunn, and Philip Bunn's fucking amazing, man. He did Kill Your Boyfriend, one of the best fucking comic books ever made, man. Where's my fucking episode about that? Anyways, but I fucking love the novel. So then I was like, well, I guess it's not just the pictures. I guess I love the writing as well. Anyway, so that's Tank Girl, kids. That's Tank Girl. I fucking love Tank Girl. It's a great comic book. You should read it. I don't know if the movie really holds up. It's very strange. You can try watching it, but you got to be in the right mood for a very strange movie, man. It's not necessarily high art, but there's some really good shit in it. I wish it was animated. The animation's really good. Though Lori Petty, she's fucking great as Tank Girl, and the tank itself looks really good. So, what am I don't know, man. Like, watch it if you feel like watching it, but if you watch it and you're like, this movie isn't very good, don't fucking come complaining to me, because I fucking warned you that you might not like it. So anyways, I'm Uncle Stinkpants / fucking pipe cleaners, and I'm Uncle whatever the fuck you call me, and this has been my episode, and today we were talking about Tank Girl. Thank you so much for being along and listening to me fucking drone on about my shit. Hopefully next episode I'll fucking say some shit about the, like, here's what's wrong with the fucking government or fucking religious groups or something. Anyways, I'm fucking Uncle Schmicky Pants Magoo. Thank you for listening, kids, and get the fuck out of here. We're done the show.
Oh yeah, that's all she wrote.